Hello, Lion and Lamb family. Welcome back to the table. I have a great guest for you today, a dear friend of myself and Monty and the ministry. Eddie Chumney is with us today. Eddie, welcome to the table.
Hey, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's the first time you've been to the table.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With this program with
That's
you. Yeah,
right.
and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, it's going to be a great conversation. For those in our audience who may not know you, would you give us just a short synopsis of how you came to the ministry?
How I came to the ministry.
Yes.
Well, I grew up going to church, and so I had a neighbor who were retired, and they asked my mom and dad whether they could take me to church. And the best I can remember, I was about 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. And so they took me to church every Sunday. I grew up in church, and from there, I became familiar with the Bible because I went to Sunday school class. I became familiar with the stories because that's the first way you have to understand the Bible. You have to be familiar with what it said. So I prayed a prayer to the Lord when I was, 10, 12 years old. And I prayed and I said, Lord, I want to understand the Bible. And I said, I want you to help me to understand the Bible because I'm 10, 12 years old, right? Now look how thick that is.
Yes.
That's kind of intimidating.
Especially for a 10-year-old.
A 10 or 12-year-old's got to learn and understand that.
Yes.
So in that context, I felt overwhelmed. And so I said to the Lord, I said, I'm not even going to try to attempt to understand it on my own. However, if you send me teachers that will help me to understand, I'll listen day and night.
Oh, how
And
wonderful.
when I prayed that prayer, I meant it. And I still mean it today because I'm still in the process of trying to learn and understand.
Sure.
So 50 years hasn't changed anything. So initially, I'm concerned with wanting to learn the Bible for myself, right? I'm
Yes.
eager to learn the Bible for myself. I'm not doing it to try to understand it for you. I'm trying to do it to understand it for me. Well, in that process of searching and trying to understand and listening to the teachers, watching Christian television, reading books, etc., I came across this verse in Psalm chapter 37, verse 23, which became a favorite of mine, which is, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way.
Yes.
And so what the Lord did once I made that prayer with sincerity, looking back, he ordered my steps. And in ordering my steps, ultimately, when I was 25 years old, was the first time he made me aware of the festivals in that they may relate to Yeshua. And so I was enthralled about it because in addition, the Lord impressed upon me when I was in Sunday school class when I was 16 that I would live to see the second coming of Yeshua, and he impressed upon me a desire to want to learn the Bible prophecies. So when that happened, I didn't know anything about Bible prophecy. So I literally started from him putting a deep desire in me and proceeding from there. So he ordered my steps, and after I learned about the festivals, he told me that I should write a book. And I said, I don't know how to write a book. I mean, that's beyond my brain and what I could wrap my hands around. And then he ultimately said something about me learning the Bible. He said, now you do know, don't you, that he to whom much is given, much is required? And man, that just hit me right between the eyes. So at that moment I stopped and I said, what are you trying to tell me? Are you trying to tell me that the things that I've learned I'm supposed to tell others? I said, I'm not doing it for that purpose. I'm trying to do it for me. But now you're telling me that I should be sharing these things with others? And he said, yes, and I want you to start by writing a book. Well, ultimately, from that, and that was around the same time, the book was printed a little bit before, but that was around the time that I became aware of this thing called the internet. So the book was
Yes.
printed in 1994, and I first became aware of the internet in 1995 at work. Somebody at work told me about it.
Mhm.
And then it really became public in 1996. And I wanted to have a way to sell my books because I didn't know anybody to sell my
Right.
books. And I thought, well, if I could connect with people on the internet, then maybe that might be a way to do it. And so ultimately, because I was a computer programmer, I ended up going to the bookstore where it told me how to write the codes that you see when you display a web page. Now it's all automated,
Right.
but then, I mean, you had to do it by hand.
Yes.
And so I did that, and from that, I put a little form that said, hey, is anybody interested in understanding the Hebraic roots of Christianity? I didn't know that anyone that would see the page
Right.
or fill out the form, but actually people saw the page, and this was the most amazing thing. Between 1 and 5 people would sign up and give me their email address every day. That may not sound like a lot, but you have 1 to 5, and this happened for almost 15 years.
Wow.
And so then I started corresponding with them once I got the list, and then I was trying to share with them thoughts and insights, and then they would ask me questions, even some questions I didn't really have to specifically think about or explain. And from that, they wrote and said, this was like 1997, they wrote and said, hey, we don't have anybody around us that teaches these things. If we organized a weekend get-together, would you be willing to come out and teach and share? So that first happened in the summer of 1997. And then from that, that's how it's been from then until now. People have taken their own initiative from the Lord to ask me to come and speak and share. So after I had been doing that from 1997 into 2001, now 9/11 really shook me up.
Sure.
Because it was like, oh my gosh, it caused me to think that the Lord is coming tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked myself, am I where I need to be? I knew I was pursuing it, but like I felt like I was a little bit behind and I needed to go faster in order to be where I wanted me to be. So then right about that time, the Lord spoke to me and said that what I want you to do, that you do not have enough time to be working 8 hours a day, 40 days a week, and do what I want you to do, because among other things, you're going to be speaking internationally. Well, that seemed like a far-fetched thing to the logical mind at the time, but the Lord confirmed it, because within 24, 48 hours, I got an email from South Africa.
Wow.
And invited me to come to South Africa.
South Africa.
So after he told me that I'd be speaking internationally, he confirmed it right away. And so he said, you need to make a choice. So I knew what the best choice was. The best choice is to do what the Lord wanted me to do.
Always so, yes.
Even though I have a choice, he gave me a choice.
Yes.
And so it was then that I made the decision, after working 17 years as a computer programmer, I turned in my notice and I went into full-time ministry. And when I did that, I was 38 years old.
Wow.
So I quit a full-time job with great benefits. I had 5 weeks of vacation, and I had the 401k and everything.
All the things you could want in the natural.
All the
yes.
things that you could want in the natural, I had going for me. And the Lord said that he wanted me to go into full-time ministry. And so I did. And he's been faithful to his calling, because, in the natural, ministering in this area where you're trying to tell people to keep the Sabbath, festivals, dietary laws in the Torah, the church is not going to invite you to go. And
Right.
so where are you going to go, and how are you going to sustain yourself? Because now you're committing to this at 38 years of age.
Yes.
And so in the natural, that's a formula for failure. But if you're called by the Lord, if he opens up the doors, if you're faithful to him and he anoints you, then he makes the way.
That's right.
And so he's been faithful to me my entire life.
Yes.
But he's been faithful to me in calling me to ministry and opening up the doors to minister. And the Lord's timing is perfect, because there's places I went, in those early years that are not available now.
Yeah.
So I needed to be available then to go to those places, because those places wanted the message to be shared with them. And then as time goes on, the Bible says that there's times and seasons.
Yes.
So as time goes on, there's different opportunities, and the Lord wants you to do different things. And so now I'm over 60 and getting up into what normally would be regarded as the retirement years. So the Lord has taken care of me in going into full-time ministry. We're going on close to around 25 years
Yeah.
or so. And so that's how it was. It was initially, he put a desire in my heart to learn his word, and he didn't let me know that it was anything more than just for me, myself, to understand. And then there came a point in time where he says, okay, now since you've learned so much, you got to begin the process to share it. First I shared it, and then he said, oh, now you have to go into full-time ministry.
Yes.
So it was a process that he didn't tell me where he was taking me in the beginning, but
So you really had to trust in his leading.
well, he did order my steps.
Yes.
And I did pray a prayer when I was 16 that I was sincere, just like I was sincere that I wanted to know his word, and that I asked him to send me teachers to help me to understand. When I was 16, I prayed for God's perfect will to be done in my life. And so I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what his perfect will was for my life. I had no idea that it meant ultimately going into full-time ministry. And so now, after all these years, I can see how he answered my prayers, what he wanted me to do. And it was an adjustment from my preconceptions when I was 18 or 20 years of age. But now looking back, I'm content and happy and satisfied with it,
Yes.
because I'm convinced that because I gave my life over to him to allow him to direct it, that he has directed it the way he wanted me to live it for my life for him.
Yes, indeed. And you were talking about now that you're over 60, a lot of us are, but a person that I used to work for had a great saying. He would say, you don't retire when you work for the Lord, you refire.
No, that's very good.
So
I heard that.
I always think of that now, like, no, there's no retirement when you're in ministry. You keep going until he says, okay, you're good now. And I don't think that's going to happen in these days, because I know a lot of us believe that, we are the last generation. These are those days. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, then I just need your strength every day, because otherwise, without the power of his Spirit, I can't do anything.
No, it's true. So I also believe, as I told you, that he gave me an impression whenever I was 16 years of age that in my lifetime, I would live to see his return.
Yes.
And he put a desire in me at that moment to begin the process to try to understand the Bible prophecy. So as I live my life, I could recognize that this is the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, so I can get excited regarding his return.
Yes.
So if I heard him correctly, which I believe I did, and given that I'm over 60, then my interpretation is, not knowing how much time he's given me, is that things are winding down.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know a lot of people don't like to think that, but I think it's so. And I have a dear friend who said, well, if you believe that we're in the end days, that just gives us no hope. And I thought to myself, no, on the contrary, that's the best hope that we have, because we know as believers that what comes after, yes, we're going to go through some hard time, but after that, it's going to be glorious and wonderful.
Are you aware that in the New Testament it says that he's going to give an eternal crown to those that love his appearing?
Yes.
And so
It's amazing.
for a person that's thinking like that, they have an opportunity to have an eternal crown, but they're not going to get an eternal crown if they don't realize it's a special thing that he returns, because the world in which we are living in, which is for all practical purposes is upside down.
Indeed.
It's going to be the way it should be. He's going to come.
Yes.
He's going to set up his kingdom. We're going to go into Messianic times, which is going to be better than now.
Oh,
and then
1,000%.
And then we're going to get into the new heavens and the new earth, which is better than now. And so his coming is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
And like I said, I just think of it as being glorious, something we can't even imagine. But even in our imaginations, like, the Lord's probably laughs at my imagination of it, but in my imagination, it's the most beautiful, wonderful thing. I mean, I can't even describe it. I can't even describe what's in the picture that's in my head, because it's so beautiful. But what I do want to get to, though, is this. So you've been ministering these many years. You've traveled internationally. You have great groups around the world that love to have you come and preach and teach. But last November, you had a traumatic experience. However, what you were sharing with me the other day was that through that experience, the Lord is really showing you something for maybe what's coming. And so I wanted to show our friends that Eddie wrote about this in our April issue of the Yavo magazine, The Heart of the Matter. And right now, he's going to share that with us. Eddie, what is the heart of the matter?
Well, initially, I didn't go into a deep dive as to why this happened to me, because I am a person that I'm wired that the things that happen in my life, I wonder why they happen, particularly at the moment when I don't understand.
Sure.
And so given that my mind thinks that way, initially for, 4 or 5 months, I didn't think about the heart attack and why it might have happened and why it would have happened when it happened. But then there came a moment in time when I did start to reflect upon it, and upon me in my mind thinking about scriptures, it came to me that the central thing that the Lord talks about is our hearts and the condition of our heart. And when the children of Israel were in the wilderness, this is an outline of what the Lord said was his purpose in taking them into the wilderness. And this is Deuteronomy in chapter 8 in verse 2. It says, "And you will remember all the way which the Lord your God led you these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble you, to prove you, to know what was in your heart."
Wow.
And then ultimately, what happened. They failed in their tests.
Yes.
And by and large, the generation that came out of Egypt did not go into the promised land. And so if you just think about what was the reason why they died in the wilderness, well, if he was trying and to prove and to show what was in their heart, the problem is they had a heart blockage.
Wow.
And if you think about the words that are associated with the new covenant, in Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31, it says, "I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah." And then it says in verse 33, "But this will be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, says the Lord, I will put my Torah in their inward parts, and I will write it in their heart."
Yes.
So the new covenant is the Torah written upon the heart. And furthermore, it says in Ezekiel chapter 36, And verse 26 and 27, a new heart will I give you. A new spirit will I put within you. I'm going to take away the stony heart and give you a heart of flesh. I'll put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes and keep my judgments and do them. You see how the focus is on the heart?
Yes, I do.
And so he wanted to show what was in their heart in the wilderness. And effectively, they showed that they had stony hearts.
Yes.
So they died in the wilderness. And the Lord can't work with a stony heart.
Right.
And so he gave the new covenant because effectively the new covenant is heart surgery. That he's going to take away the stony heart and give it a heart of flesh. So why does his people, why do they need to have heart surgery? Well, because there's heart blockages.
Yeah.
And so we need to have a heart surgery. And in the heart surgery, he's going to bypass the heart blockages. And how does he bypass the heart blockages? Well, he's going to put his spirit within us.
Yeah.
And so now the Torah is going to be written upon our heart. He's going to put his spirit within us. And the problem that was there, the stony heart, he bypasses it so that in giving us a new heart, now we can live a life that is pleasing to him because we got the right condition of our heart. And so who ultimately is this directed toward? It's directed toward Yeshua's bride. And so upon reflection of these things and what the scriptures say, which I just outlined to you, I began to think about what physically happened to me because when I got my heart catheterization, the cardiologist said that I had one blockage of 95% and
goodness.
5 or 6
Wow.
of 70%.
Wow.
And he said, because of your blockages, if you do nothing, you will die of a heart attack.
Oof.
And so I effectively had no choice. If I wanted to live, I had to have, and I ended up having triple bypass surgery.
Yes.
So what did they do in that? They bypassed the blockages so that after the surgery, what do I have? I have a new heart.
Yes.
And so I was just thinking, well, that parallels what we're learning in the scriptures about Israel and his relationship with Israel. And so I thought, well, and I asked Monty and his wife, Rita, I said, well, what if I write an article and I explain the parallel between what happened to me in the heart surgery and with what the scriptures actually say on how the Lord is dealing with Israel and how the Lord's dealing with us in Messiah. And he said he thought that would be a great idea. So that is how that article came about. And that's where we get the title of the article, The Heart of the Matter.
Yes. It's so amazing to me that here you go through this traumatic life event. And as you're recuperating and going along in the recuperation, that the Lord starts to, I think, speak to your heart and say, there's a purpose here. And then he starts to show you this particular message of the bypass, the blockage, the stony heart, the new heart. And when you describe it as you just did, it makes such perfect sense. And the experience that you went through, although I'm sure it was very scary at the time, but God had a purpose for it and it brought you through that so that then you could bring the message of, hey, that was a physical issue, but let me show you what the Bible says, that the spiritual issue is using that illustration. I mean, the way God works sometimes, it just blows my mind because he takes something that we think of as, oh, that was a terrible thing that happened. Yes, but look what he's done with it.
Well, in addition to that, back to this verse that says the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord.
Yes.
We as human beings, we want things to go well. We don't like problems, right? Who likes problems? Who likes trials and tribulations? So therefore, if anything, what we perceive goes wrong in our lives, then, we don't view it positively. We view it negatively. And sometimes we want to rebuke the devil. But when you pray for the Lord's will to be done in your life, which I did, there's a couple aspects of that. You want Him to open things in His purpose and plans, but something we don't think about. A part of His purpose and His plans is closing things.
That's true too. Yeah.
Okay, and so closing things and arranging circumstances to close things that He doesn't want us to do, or He doesn't want us to do at this time, is just as much as something that we see as positive and we're excited and we want to go out and tell everyone about. So I had a deep impression that from the things that I was learning, that the Lord wanted me to write my next book.
Yes.
And this next book was going to be focused on Matthew to Revelation and explaining the Hebraic background, context, understanding, pro-Torah element of the New Testament, Matthew to Revelation. And so I felt as though over the years He had given me enough understanding of things that I had what I needed to write the book, including recently given me an understanding from my studies of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes.
And how that fits in with Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, etc. And so I had an impression that I was supposed to write the book this past winter. And I was going to start from November, and then I was going to have it done by the end of March. And so I was going to start on, effectively, November the 1st. Mm-hmm. Well, that is the day that I had the heart attack.
Wow.
So because I had the heart attack, and then they got me in as quick as possible, so I had the triple bypass on November the 5th. Of course, now after you have the triple bypass, at first you're only allowed to lift 5 pounds. You're not allowed to drive. So now I'm physically limited. So after that process went through for a variety of weeks, I started cardio rehab. And 1 week after cardio rehab, I got shingles.
I know.
And so I was physically limited for another
Unbelievable.
3 months. And so it literally hurt for me to type on the computer. And that was painful. And so I couldn't write a book. So my circumstances prevented me from doing what I had the impression that the Lord wanted me to do. So the question is, did you miss hearing from the Lord? And why did this happen exactly at the time when you thought the Lord wanted you to write the book? Well, because I believe that our steps are ordered by the Lord, because
Yes.
I believe in divine providence. I don't think it wasn't that I didn't hear from the Lord. I think what the Lord was saying is, it's not the right timing to do it now. So I heard it and I interpreted it that I was supposed to do it immediately, but He still wants me to do it, but He wants me to do it at a later time.
Yeah.
Because just in the last few weeks, I've been I'm currently studying ultra orthodox perspectives of the Bible and of the Torah, and in doing that, I've just started, and in doing that, I've realized that some of those beliefs are statements that Paul said in his letters that I would not have recognized the connection. I'm familiar with the verse, but I wouldn't have realized the connection.
Right.
And I'm coming to the thought process that even though I thought I had what I needed, what the Lord wanted me to show, that I really didn't. There's still more, and He wanted to give me that first. And then when I complete this process, then I'm going, and He wants me to then write it. So He basically closed the door in the sense that He delayed it, and He delayed it by the circumstances. So instead of looking at it and say, well, God wanted me to do this and the devil interrupted it. Well, I believe more in the divine providence of God, and that what we perceive as something negative does not mean that it was permissible and not a part of God's plan.
Yeah. And with everything that you've been sharing with me lately, it seems that while we wouldn't think that God would make us sick or put us in a holding place for a minute, he does do that. Scripturally, we can see that. So it appears to me that that's exactly what he did, that you were raring to go. And he said, hold on, Eddie. There's more for you yet. Before you write that book, I'm showing you more. I've got to give you more impression. I've got to, show you through your experience what's happening.
Well, there's many examples that we could give, but one that just comes to my mind right now is he wanted Elijah to move. And ordinarily, Elijah wouldn't have moved. And so he caused the brook to dry up.
Yes.
And so now because the brook that dried up circumstantially, like he had to move.
Yes.
And so sometimes the Lord permits and allows and ordains that the brook dry up because he's causing us to go to a new place or a new season. And sometimes we wouldn't have gone there otherwise.
Right.
And so there's a whole variety of ways that God speaks to us. But one of the many ways is he does through our circumstances.
Yes.
And he orchestrates and arranges our circumstances. And a perfect biblical example of that is the book of Esther. So God wanted to deliver and save the Jewish people. So the book of Esther tells us the details of how he orchestrated all these different circumstances so that the end result was that the Jewish people would be saved, telling us the principle that God directs and is involved in the circumstances. And what was a part of the circumstances? Well, the king's wife had to say and do this. The king had to respond this way. There had to be a Mordecai. There had to be a Haman that did this. And then there had to be an Esther. And Esther had to be willing to do this. And the king had to be willing to accept her. And then ultimately, the different events happened such that God's plan that Haman's plans didn't succeed in the deliverance of the Jewish people came. And it's all about how he orchestrated the circumstances. And while that process was going on, we could interpret that some of the circumstances were bad.
Right.
But God orchestrated all that to bring about the end result.
Yes. Which is exactly what I think he's doing with you and this new revelation that he seems to be giving to you in stages. But I'm just excited to see where that's all going to lead and how that's going to all come about. And I just want to thank you for coming to the table with me today. We've had such a great discussion, and we'll have to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so, friends, I just want to say, pick up this article in the Yavo April edition, The Heart of the Matter, and read exactly what Eddie's been talking about today. You won't be sorry that you went back to the April edition to read that. It's a great story and has great examples for you of listening to how God's directing your steps. And remember, the King is coming. Keep those oil lamps full. And I'll see you next time right here at the table.
The views shared in this program are those of the speakers and may not necessarily reflect the beliefs of Lion and Lamb Ministries. We're honored to walk with you in the pursuit of Scripture and faith in Yeshua the Messiah. Thank you for viewing our program.
The lion has roared. Who will not hear? This is the call of the Feast of Tabernacles, a time to gather, to dwell, to rejoice for 8 days under open skies. We worship, we pray, we remember. A sacred assembly where heaven meets earth. The lion is calling. Will you answer? Join us and dwell in his glory.